look deep into your heart and ask yourself the question, are you really following Christ, or are you just idolizing your cultural way of life? I can tell you right now that many who've gone to do missionary work, what they've actually gone to do is they've gone to impose their lifestyle, their way of thinking, their culture on other people. That's what they've done. Because somehow doing what we do and how we interpret it makes us more Christian. I'm sorry. That's just a side rant. I only have a few more minutes, and I'll dig into it for our next reading rant, because again, it kind of piggybacks on that. I don't know why I just spent all that time on that, but let's break that. So let's, now I'm flustered because I realize, oh my gosh, I got like 5 minutes. Sorry, y'all. I just got a couple of minutes. Okay. Give me a couple minutes more. Give me like 10 minutes. Okay. Let's see if I can get into 10 minutes. We'll see. So he's talking to the ones who are judging, those who aren't living the way they live, who aren't following what they follow, those who believe that somehow you ought to follow the law, and it's selective what law that they follow, right? And you have to submit to this law, because by submitting to this law and affirming this law, somehow that is what is necessary for you to be righteous. That's what he's talking. That's who he's talking to right now. And he's saying to them, for those of you who did do those things, for those of you who say you're submitted to the law, but then you don't do what the law says to do, how can you say, hear me out now, how can you say that you're righteous by the law? Doesn't that make you equally unrighteous? Because here's the thing, fam, laws don't change hearts. And that's really what we were getting to the last time we read it. And so now Paul continues to dig in to these people, the Jews who are judging the Gentiles for not taking on their Jewishness. See, context is important. Because I know sometimes we just go straight to some point, but we don't get the full breadth of what Paul is saying. And so we have to get there first. We have to read that. So now when Paul opens up in chapter 3, and he says, what advantage then has the Jew? Or what is the profit of circumcision? Remember, they thought they had to snip in order to be Christian. Paul's like, circumcision of the flesh is just skin. It's just skin. Doesn't bring you closer to Jesus. And if you are circumcised, what advantage does the Jew have? He says the only advantage is that you were closer because of the law. You have to understand, Jesus Christ did not come to abolish the law. He came to fulfill the law, meaning you actually have the closest understanding to the breadth, the width, the depth, the consequence of what Jesus actually accomplished. You're closer than anybody else to understanding who Jesus is and what Jesus has done. This is the advantage that you have, is just to know what he's done. And yet you're so close, but you're so far. Because you've got the law, but how many believed? Watch this now. He says you were committed to oracles, God. Verse 3, for what if some did not believe? Will their unbelief make the faithfulness of God without effect? Side note, or let me just get right to it. Will their unbelief make the faithfulness of God without effect? Meaning, if God is faithful, their belief or unbelief doesn't change who God is. And for those who do not believe, does it matter whether or not they're a Jew? Because again, the law is not what justifies them. The law is not what justifies any of us. Verse 4. Look what he says. Certainly not. Indeed, let God be true, but every man a liar. As it is written, that you may be justified in your words and may overcome when you are judged. Verse 5, but if your unrighteousness demonstrates the righteousness of God, what shall we say? Is God unjust who inflicts wrath? He's talking about the conflict here. If you are justified, so if your words justify you and you're unrighteous in your acts and unrighteous in your heart, what does that say about the righteousness of God? Paul is speaking about something much deeper here. Not this exterior behavior, but what's actually going on in your heart. He's talking about the conflict. Look at verse 8. And why not say, let us do evil that good may come? As we slanderously reported, and as some affirm that we say their condemnation is just. You can't do evil so that good may come. You may have good deeds and good acts, but if there's an evil heart, where's the righteousness in that? And that's where Paul is going. And he's saying, your acts might look righteous, but there is no one who's righteous. Not a single one. Not one of you gets it. He's saying, not one of you actually seeks after God. You're too busy trying to follow rules. You've turned aside. No one does good. Not a single one of you. Not a single one of you has the capacity to do good. Even when you speak, your throat is like an open tomb. Literally, death comes out of your mouth. You speak deceit because even when you talk good things, really what's going on in your heart is evil. I'm just going to interpret it in Isaac speak for a second. Destruction and misery are in your ways. You tear things down. That's what you do because that's what's in your heart. It's sin that's in your heart.